openly about how you're not a virgin. And so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then, I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair complaint. I wish I was.
Both of you are one and the same.
Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So is she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
So if you guys don't know, this young woman is named Hannah Pearl Davis, and Hannah Pearl Davis gives political advice as well as, I believe, dating advice or dating culture advice or rhetoric on social media platforms. This video will be her covering an anti-feminist clash. I'm assuming she's clashing with the anti-feminist, or she is an anti-feminist and she's clashing with the feminist. I'm not sure. The clip they just showed, she said her most controversial advice is that women should not be able to vote. I don't necessarily agree with that advice, but I am interested to see why she would, think that, or why she said that. I have no initial thoughts about Hannah Pearl Davis. I'm here for a purely objective review of her stance. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I'm LFR JoJo, an engineering grad student. So let's not waste any more time.
Okay, well, Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist Ava Santini, who was nodding furiously along there to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've be called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Well, I take it as a compliment. I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about, but overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. You look it up.
At the time. Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. Before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
Well, what's that going to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run. So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S., they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is essentially the draft.
Okay, but specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have 2 votes.
Ava, your mouth seems to have dropped about 3 feet.
I know.
Before she gets too deep into the conversation and the debate, and I'm going to let them play it out and, I guess, talk about this, I will say her response does make sense from a traditional perspective of having a one unit in a household. And what I mean by that is when you get married, you no longer are 2, you become one under the guise of Christianity, if you believe in Christianity. So what she's saying is if you have a 2-person household, a man and a wife, there should be one vote because you are one voice. It's just the man leads the household. It should be the man's voice. From that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And also the perspective of, yes, men do lead society when it comes to laboring jobs, or societal structure jobs such as engineering, or anything in STEM really, or any type of labor. The reason I think that I still don't agree that women shouldn't have the right to vote is because when it comes to, even if you look at a traditional household, a man and a woman, a woman in that household can choose to not vote. And I think that's the important part. In America, you have the right to choose whether or not you want to take part in the system, or you can start your own system in your household. And I think that's fair. Also, there are a lot of unmarried women or widowed women or single women who I still believe have the right to vote, should have the right to vote. And there are a lot of, and women in general do important jobs. So what if you are a woman and you do a manual labor job? Should you still not have the right to vote? All in all, though, I think it's a good debate topic, and I'm going to hear a little more about this.
I know. It's just sort of a bit galaxy brain. I feel like, the stats that you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stats?
They just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the to the women's writings that you've allegedly read. I mean,
allegedly? What do you mean allegedly?
At the time that you're talking about, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. That's incorrect. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work and couldn't.
I'm so sorry, but that would be inherited property.
The first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made.
Yes, it was.
Self-made. Yes, it
and
was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not inherit it.
What law permitted that?
What?
What law permitted that?
Well, there was no law. I mean, there's always been women that were influential in history.
Let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand is, a part of your message. I've researched you today. And hang on a minute.
Okay.
Your big push is that you care about men and you don't think that men are getting enough of a say.
But I care about
hang
women
on,
too.
I haven't made the point yet.
Okay.
Because of feminism. Okay. What I wonder is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. How is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives. They have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers, and they turn around. They don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
One thing I will say that Pearl is touching on that, and I'm going to respond to this young woman because she's saying she's giving them a license to be misogynistic, and she's basically asking, how will this help men? In the context of this discussion, what Pearl is doing to help men, and I'm going to break it down if you don't understand. She's basically acknowledging that men carry the hard parts of society for the mass majority of how we work. Meaning that majority of labor jobs are men, the majority of working class, working with their hands jobs are men. And what Pearl is saying is men carry society on their backbone and they deserve to get some type of credit for that. And the reason why this conversation is important is because other than Pearl Davis, how many public women do you have going on talk shows defending men's work? It's not many. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, at least not on the videos that I've reacted to. It's very, very, very rare that you have, especially a young woman, coming online to defend the work that men in society do. And what she's saying is that, yes, the society is held up by men. They should get some say and they should get some type of reward for that. Although I wouldn't go as far as to say that women should not vote. I don't agree with that at all, actually. I don't agree with that women shouldn't vote. I do understand the sentiment that Pearl has, and I also understand the anger that the other young woman has. I would say, though, every time I hear these type of conversations, it always seems a little backwards for me because the young woman responded and said, oh, there weren't any self-made women millionaires or there weren't any self-made women. That comment itself is a little sexist because just because women in your eyes were oppressed does not mean that women did not still have the knowledge, the skill, and the power to become self-made, even in a time like the 60s or 70s where you believed that they were oppressed. That type of thinking is your own hindrance. You're putting crutches on yourself and your founding women fathers. But anyways, let's continue.
I would wouldn't call it misogynistic. I say be equal. So again, men do all of the
feminists are
well,
saying.
then okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open, they're hiring, because I don't equate for, I don't think men or women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen, go apply to be on the oil rigs, go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be on the front lines of the military, and then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, well, I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not. But you said you were a volleyball.
Wow.
You said you were a volleyball player, and so you've got more strength than I do. I don't think.
But
that
I don't have more strength. I don't have more strength than the average man.
I'm not going to take your right away.
I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
You also, but you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because I don't think what we have today is really marriage. What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That's what marriage is supposed to be. But feminists have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate, and the average marriage
Why is that all down to the
years.
women, though?
I didn't say that it was all down to the women.
So why feminists?
You asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish that first? So I'm saying, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin? So you wouldn't be able to get married?
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But, we can't go back. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, but I just don't think it's fair that you get to be here and you get to be paid for your views, and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think
Well, to get a rebuttal, or to provide Pearl a rebuttal with that stance, Pearl never said that she was purely traditional when it came to marriage. For example, in a purely traditional marriage, yes, the woman is typically a virgin prior to marriage. However, in a purely traditional marriage, the man covers 100% of the cost. The woman does not work. She takes care of the kids at home. He covers 100% of everything. All Pearl had to say with that is that, yes, she may not be a virgin. However, she does not require her husband to cover 100% of everything. And I honestly think this leads into another unhealthy discussion going around, the unhealthy dating standards surrounding men as well. What Pearl says is unfair. If you look at traditionalism, you can say, yes, a woman was required to be a virgin, but the majority of men don't uphold that. I'm not even going to say majority of women, but a majority of women do want a man who is the breadwinner. Despite women going to college at a very accelerated rate, despite women having more jobs, more financial affluency than any time in human history, women still want a man who is a provider, which is ironically traditional. So you're saying, yeah, Pearl, you're not a virgin. You're not this and that. Yes, Pearl is a regular woman. If she says, yeah, I'm not a virgin, I don't uphold that standard, but you uphold a traditional standard of a man being a breadwinner, both of you are one and the same.
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in. Isn't the whole point of being a feminist, though, that women are entitled to have their own views?
Absolutely.
So she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't.
You might not like them.
But I'm here to challenge
Isn't she
them.
exercising her right as are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality, but you guys don't, I would love for you. There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering.
I would actually love to see Ava Satin on an oil rig.
Seriously. There is a building being built next to my building. Go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm
doing the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
Ava, I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate where Some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children in divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand,
I'd like to
what
say,
I don't
even
understand,
before the 1920s,
do you know what I mean?
women could speak openly. This idea that like women couldn't talk the last 500 years, there have been women
I know,
throughout
but the American
history
state
that have
education
been,
system has
that
failed before, and it's failing now.
There have been women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know
Don't
what
believe it.
I don't understand though is when it gets spiteful, okay? Because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, like, you know, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs. You know,
I mean, the question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate morbid obesity as some kind of body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth in that.
This is the problem. This is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive?
Well,
it's nonsense.
We're not talking.
Yeah. I think this is a very interesting debate for me. I've never done a video quite like this before on my channel. Although I don't necessarily agree with Pearl's verbiage, I do think the underlying message has some validity to it. The underlying message has some validity to it. I also do like the fact that the other woman in this was very respectful to Pearl. She spoke her thoughts. She did kind of insult her body earlier, which is a little ironic considering that you are a self-proclaimed feminist. You're insulting her, saying, well, I'm not strong enough, but you look strong. It's just a little ironic. However, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. My name is Elifar JoJo, and I'll see you guys in the next one.